So I wanted to be able to give people empowerment to know that you can focus on living a comfortable lifestyle and not so much an extravagant one. I mean, and to me, I feel like I never miss out on anything. I drive a nice car. I have a luxury car. I've been down that path, but now I just drive a nice Nissan SUV and I love it. It gets me everywhere I need to go. It's comfortable, it's roomy, it's affordable, it's fuel efficient, and now it's 100% paid off. So I love it even more.
You're listening to Nurses on Fire, the podcast for nurses by nurses aspiring to financial independence. I'm your host, Naseema McElroy of Financially Intentional. Let's spark some flames, y'all. Have you gone to the grocery store a million times this week and still forgot the onion? Don't trip. Instacart's got your back. Get local fresh groceries delivered right to your front door in as fast as an hour. No need to stress like I do when I send my boyfriend to the store for apples and half of them are bruised. Every item is hand selected by shoppers to your personal preference. And check this, you can shop from multiple stores in one order. Instacart also looks out for your pockets by highlighting deals to help you save money. Get unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. To start your 14-day free trial, click the link in the show notes to let Instacart know that I sent you and to help support the show.
Hi, welcome to episode 23 of the Nurses on Fire podcast.
Much love to all my returning listeners, and if this is your first time listening, thank you so much for tuning in. So for all you guys, I would be eternally grateful if you took a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share with other nurses that you know could benefit. Trust me, if you have not left a review or a rating yet, it is really what helps me get out there, get seen so that other nurses know what's possible. So please, if you haven't, take a minute to do so. And guess what? I'm rewarding you to do so. And big announcement, we have a new website up. The website is nursesonfirepodcast.com. And if you want to learn more about how to win a $50 Amazon gift card, make sure you go over to nursesonfire.com/win to find out how you can be entered after you leave that review. All right, so we're going to hop into our next episode of the podcast, and this is an excellent episode with DeShena Woodard. DeShena grew up in a working class neighborhood with parents that struggled with bills, but didn't struggle enough to be considered poor. This led her to grow up with a scarcity mindset. Her downward spiral into debt began after receiving her first credit card in college, and she graduated with her associates in nursing, but she still felt like she did not have good money management skills. So she did the things that everybody else did. She bought that house, she bought that fancy car, she had the baby, and basically she was living check to check. She finally had a mindset shift and began to focus on living a comfortable life instead of an extravagant one. So that's when she was able to take control of her debt and is now 100% debt free. So in episode 23 of the Nurses on Fire podcast, this nurse is extravagantly broke. Hey, so today on the Nurses on Fire podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking to Miss DeShena. Hey, DeShena.
Hey, Naseema.
And DeShena has a platform called Extravagantly Broke. And yes, she is also a nurse. So DeShena, give me a little bit of information about your background and we'll just go from there. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that I kind of just grew up, in like a working class neighborhood. My parents, they did kind of struggle with money, but not enough to be considered poor. We had everything pretty much that we needed, but maybe not necessarily everything that we wanted. But, and maybe not as much as I felt like some of the other kids had. And, so I probably had this kind of scarcity mindset growing up. But, we had our basics, and my spiral into debt actually happened, after college. I got my first credit card in college. That was back when they would have representatives on campus, scouting for college students to get their first credit card, even though you may not have had a job or, you have, student loans or, barely working because you're in college. But, you get the first credit card, and that's where I started. That was my first mistake. And, after I graduated from college, then, my money management skills, I hadn't learned any. I was never really taught anything about money. Like I said, my parents kind of just were working class, and, they struggled off and on with bills, but, still we always had food to eat, clothes to wear, but, not always the luxuries or things like that. But after college, then, I kind of just followed the path that everybody else follows, buy a house, buy a car, have a baby. Then before you know it, I started just kind of dwindling down my work hours to PRN after my baby was born. But I was still spending pretty much just probably the same, and ended up living kind of like a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. So that was pretty much how I ended up in debt.
And now you're what?
Oh, and now, well, I finally had a mindset shift, and I began to start focusing more on living comfortably instead of living extravagantly, because I was tired of being broke and tired of not seeing anything in my bank account. On the outside, I probably looked like, I had a house, car, all that good stuff, and my kid was in activities and things like that. But, I was still living that paycheck to paycheck, not even, it's like not even making it to paycheck, already looking for the next paycheck just when you get the first one. That's just the kind of style I was living. So, but, it took a mindset transformation for me to, realize that I was wasting of what money on a lot of unnecessary stuff. And so I changed my thinking and started focus on living comfortable instead of extravagant. And now I'm 100% debt free.
Yes, congratulations. So
Thank
that is a
you.
major accomplishment. And I love your platform, the title of your platform, Extravagantly Broke, because I feel that. And most people are living
Yes.
extravagantly broke, but it just wraps that up so perfectly. But
Hmm.
like, I like what you said. Like, you did all the things that you were supposed to do. You went to school, you
Hmm.
got the house, you got the car, you had the kid, you put the
Hmm.
baby in activities. You
Hmm.
weren't doing things that were people would consider you're like flossing or you were spending too much
Hmm.
money. Like, you were just
Hmm.
living life. But you
Yes.
noticed that life was costing you so that you were barely making it to the next paycheck. And I think that's where most people are. And it's a
Hmm.
major struggle. So you
It
are not
is.
alone. You are in good company of people that do this every day. But what was it that shifted in you that really made you think, I cannot do this anymore? I have to change.
The anxiety. I would have to say it was the anxiety because, I would sit down to do my bills, and I would literally feel nervous, because it's like, I wonder, I mean, it was always like this anxiety thing for me, because I would always wonder, am I going to have enough to, make this? And then, or either I'm just left with so little afterwards. It's like after I pay my bills, then it's like, ugh, there's barely anything, I have to cut back on groceries or cut back on, something else that maybe I wanted to do. But, it was just anxiety. I mean, I don't know if everybody feels that way, but literally it was making me, I just had this, my hands would shake. I mean, every time it was a mild tremor, but I could feel it. I could just feel the anxiety every time. And even thinking about it now, I can feel that coming up. That might just be me, but it really was causing me anxiety to be, I just felt like I was always behind, always trying to play catch up with my bills. And I just knew there had to be something better. I'm like, people live like this. I mean, this is not fun to be, stressed out about it and worrying about it, and sometimes not even able to rest well at night because I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, this week car note is due, and if I pay that, then I might fall short on my light bill. It was just this constant anxiety, especially when bill paying time came around. So yeah, I couldn't take that anymore. There had to be a better way. My mind just started to decide, well, maybe my daughter doesn't need to be in 4 activities. Maybe
Oh my
she can
God.
be down to 1. And maybe, I want her in everything. I mean, what parent doesn't? I want her to have the, experience of everything. And then I see other parents doing it. They got the kids in gymnastics, piano lessons. Let's see what else. Oh, swim class. I see all the other people got all their kids in these things. And it's like, well, how are they doing it? I'm a professional woman, but I don't know what was going on in their finances, but for me, it was causing me stress. So I'm like, I had to start, I've started realizing maybe we should just do one thing at a time instead of trying to do 3 or 4 different things at a time.
Right. Newsflash, most people are broke.
Yes, I realize that now.
Right. So let's get into the strategy that you use to pay off your debt.
Mostly, I guess it was kind of like the debt snowball. Well, for me, I realized that I tend to manage my money better when I can see where everything is going. So I started just kind of keeping a journal, a budget journal, I guess, if you will, where I just write everything down and then I plan my expenses out at least 1 month or maybe even a month and a half advance so I can see exactly listing all of my debts and then all of my expenditures. I know they have apps and stuff for that now, and those probably work well. Me personally, I just kind of like to write it down. I like to write things down because then I can just kind of just go back and look at it and I can see what I'm spending and what I need to focus on, and make adjustments as I go along. If I spend a little bit too much here, I can cut back a little bit maybe somewhere else. But I also did, like, I guess you would call, like, the zero-based budget, where I do assign every dollar a job. That's what I progressed to. In the beginning, I just kind of started writing things down just to keep track of where my expenditures were and looking at that and planning it out at least a month and a half in advance. And then I moved more into where, like, okay, well, I know I need to pay this and I need to pay that and I want to pay this much on here. So then I kind of switched to that zero-based budget where I was assigning my money to particular expenses, especially as I was paying down debt. I set a goal and I pay a certain amount every month. Credit card number 1, I'm going to pay $500 every month, come heck or high water. So
Yes.
that's where it's going, So, and then I did also, the debt snowball where I start with the lowest expense first. So it was like a combination of things. So I started with the lowest expense first and started working on paying that down and then putting that money towards the next largest bill. So yeah, it took me a lot of things because it is like, it's a process. It didn't happen overnight, but, I had to keep writing and keep adjusting as needed and just keep trying, but steady moving forward and steady keeping my eye on the prize that, hey, I'm working to pay off my debt. I got to get out of this debt. This debt is weighing on me. It's causing me anxiety. My hands are shaking when it's time to do my bills. So, something's not right here. So I just had to get really laser focused on paying off the debt and, kind of put all those extras, off to the side.
What's funny is that you talk about how you were feeling in that anxiety. Imagine, like, physically, like what you're manifesting in your body, like when you feel that, because a lot of people think, like, where do cancers come from? And where do, like, all these things come from? And
Yes.
it's really based on like stress and the things that we're doing and thinking. And this is like totally off base, but it's relatable.
Yes.
But I really feel like once people are able to get in control of their finances, they are able to shift a lot of things physiologically within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
Mm-hmm.
super important because like look at what you were doing to yourself physically by being
Mm-hmm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
place. And so I just wanted
Yes.
to just mention that because
Right.
that's what came up for me when you were telling me like how you were
Mm-hmm.
feeling. I was just like, man, like like
It wasn't
imagine what
good.
that's doing to her body. Yes, it
Yes.
wasn't good, but you're in control of that now, and that's what matters. And so I love the techniques that you use. And the thing that I say often is that, you know, personal finance is personal, and the way that
Yes.
you budget, you know, it whatever works. People are always like, whatever, what's the best technique? Is the technique that is going to work for you. And so I love how you say like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's these
Yes.
apps, and yes, yeah, I recommend apps and all this kind of stuff, and I use the app myself. But some people just need to get down and dirty and just do paper and pencil and figure it out. And I love that that's what you
Yes.
did.
I still do it.
Yes,
Pen and paper, even though with all
yes.
the apps, it's like, no, every payday I sit down and I look at my expenses. I have it all listed out. If there's anything that I need to add on, you know, like my daughter when she was in college, you know, I had to add tuition and I had to figure out how I'm going to budget this, how I'm going to work this into budget. So, you know, I have to see it on pen and paper. I need to write it. That just what helps me. So that's
Yes.
how I do
And
it.
then I like you were like, no matter what, this $500 has to go to this debt. Like no matter what, you have
Yes,
that goal.
yes,
And the
yes.
mistake that I see people make often is that, you know, they try to attack debt, whatever is left at the end of the month in their bank. And typically that ain't nothing or a couple of dollars and you're not going to really make a dent. And so you're just like $500 is what it is.
That's right.
And that's what made it happen. So how long did it take you to get out of this debt?
From the time that I really got serious about attacking my debt, 2.5 years. And
Awesome.
really, I say that hesitantly because actually, I went back to school. I needed more education because I had been, you know, I'm a nurse. So I had been like a supplemental nurse for years working in the hospital. And that allowed me to be, you know, able to be with my daughter and then my son eventually when he came along. And, you know, it gave me the flexibility to be able to choose when I wanted to work.
Supplemental, can you stop? Because I've never heard that term before. Is that
You never heard of
no,
that?
is that like a per diem? Like
That's a per diem. Yes.
I just want to
Yes.
clarify
The
that. I
same
was
thing.
like,
Yeah.
supplemental nurse? Is that a new kind of nurse? Lord, let me find out.
No, well, see, I'm in Texas.
Okay.
That's what they call it where I'm at. Sometimes they call it PRN, they call it per diem, or they call it supplement. Actually, at the facility where I work, PRN and supplemental had two different, I guess you say, monthly commitments. It's like the supplemental, you had to work maybe a total of 4 days a month, and maybe per diem, you can work as little as 1 day a month, you know. So it's all the same, you know, you're just as needed. You know, you sign up for, you're not on staff and you're not full time, but just have minor commitments that you have to meet per month. So, but it's all, yes, like per
Thank
diem
you for
or
clarifying
PRN.
that. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No problem. No, it's
you
like,
were saying you went back to school. Sorry.
right. Yes. I went back to school because I had been working on the floor for years, multiple floors, because I was also a float nurse. So that, you know what
I
that one
definitely know
is?
what a flowness is. Thank you.
Okay. So that one, yeah, I was also a float nurse. So, and that's how I was able to be as needed or PRN because I can just sign up and then they float me to whatever department was short staff for that day. And so I was a float nurse for many, many years. And I was at the bedside, but I had been wanting, after, you know, years of working at the bedside, I wanted to kind of move behind the scenes and work in like maybe case management or like for an insurance company like I do now. And I wanted to move more into that area, more hands off, just education versus actual physical hands on care. But all the jobs that were open for that, they always wanted like a bachelor's degree, which at the time I only had an associate's. So I felt like in order to get the job that I wanted, I needed to go back to school. So I went back to school, which that took me 2.5 years in order to get my bachelor's degree. And then I was able to, it took me maybe another year year and a half before I finally got the job that I wanted. And from that point, from the point where I got the job that I wanted and went full time, that's when I started attacking my debt. And that took me 2.5 years from that point. So from 2017 from January of 2017 until August of 2019. So roughly, think about 30 months. It took me to pay off $52,000 worth of debt and save along the way. I was saving, also building my savings too, because I could have probably paid off the debt faster, but I actually wanted to see money in my savings account. That's just how things work in my head.
I'm known as a debt slayer because of the $200,000 in student loans I slayed in 2.5 years. I hated those loans and dealing with the loan servicers. I was head down and focused and wanted to get rid of the debt as soon as possible. Knocking out these loans and seeing a zero loan balance was one of the most liberating feelings I have ever felt. But recently I learned that by not optimizing my student loan payoff strategy, I lost money. I'm talking about big money, y'all. I could have saved $80,000 if I had a customized student loan plan by the team at Student Loan Planner. Please don't make the same mistake as me. If you have student loan debt, especially in the six figures, head over to studentloanplanner.com/financially intentional to get your customized student loan plan today. Do you know how your retirement funds are invested? Do you know how much you're paying in fees? Chances are you're on the same boat as some of my coworkers. Some of them set up their retirement when they first got hired and never looked at it again. Some have let a computer select their investments and don't even know what they're invested in. Worst of all, some people have their retirement funds sitting in a savings account and they're not even invested in the market because they're afraid to lose money. That's hella scary, y'all. What's even scarier is that some of you listening don't even have a clue what I'm talking about. And guess what? This is super common. This has to change today. Let Bloom do the work for you. Head over to financiallyintentional.com/Bloom and get your free retirement account analysis. They'll check and see if your retirement account is optimized for you, and they'll let you know if you're paying too much in fees. That's Bloom with 3 O's. Bloom can also manage your retirement account on an ongoing basis so you can take the stress out of retirement planning. If you choose to work with Bloom, their fees are incredibly low, less than your Netflix subscription. You have enough to worry about. Let Bloom handle your retirement account. The hardest thing you'll have to do when it comes to your retirement is remember that Bloom is spelled with 3 O's. Head over to financiallyintentional.com/Bloom. Remember, spelled with 3 O's, and get your retirement account squared away today. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yes.
So, what does this savings represent to you? Like, why did you feel like you needed to save at the same time as you were paying off
Well,
debt?
it represents that I'm not broke, because for so many years, I didn't even make it to paycheck. I was already broke long before paycheck. So, I got the emergency fund, the minimum of $1,000. Once I got that, I was like, whew, that was something. And then from there, I wanted to see more. I wanted to see, I want to know that I had some backup in the case that there is anything that goes wrong. Because, yeah, I can pay off debt, but then even if I do pay it off, if something happens, then what am I going to do? Just go charge it again? So in my mind, I felt like for my mental well-being and security to know, because like I said, I used to get anxious with my bills because I knew I didn't have it. My bank account was empty. But now when I can see that there's money, that just gave me more peace of mind because I can see, okay, well, I know if anything goes wrong, I got my backup here. I got a cushion to help me out in the event that something becomes up or I just, the bottom falls out. I don't know. It was just for my own mental health. I needed to see as I'm paying down the debt, I'm seeing that balance go down. But on the flip side, I'm also seeing my savings balance go up. So,
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I always tell people personal finance is
mhm,
personal. And, not having any savings was causing you to have
yes,
that stress too. And so you had to do what worked for you. And that's
it
why I'm
was.
not a big fan of cookie cutter approaches. And I give Dave Ramsey
Hmm.
a whole bunch of props because without Dave Ramsey, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. But I also
Hmm.
had to learn that, we have to approach personal finance from a different lens because, different things work for different people and different things, people need different things. I don't need a big emergency fund because
Right.
I've never had an emergency that was something that, I couldn't cover out of my cash flow or cover with a couple $1,000s in the bank account. But so that doesn't do anything for me. But I'm not going to
Hmm.
tell you when I know that that causes you a lot of anxiety not to have that money in the bank. So how much is a good
Hmm.
emergency fund for you? Like how many months of expenses do you feel is a good emergency fund?
At least 2 years.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to see, I want to know because things happen. Things in life happen. You never know what's going to come down the pipeline. And, I just want to feel, that sense of security that if anything goes wrong, you never know. My husband might divorce me or something, It's like, okay, where am I left? And things can eat up your money really fast. So if I know that if I keep my expenses low to where I'm comfortable, then I can, survive for at least a good 2 years in the event that I couldn't even work. What if I break my leg and can't work, and can't get disability or something? You just never know. I don't know. That's just the way things work in my mind. I just feel like I need that security blanket.
Okay. That's what works for you.
Mhm.
And do you just keep that emergency fund like in a regular savings account? Like where is that at?
The emergency fund, yes, that is in a savings account right now. And I said I just recently became 100% debt free. So now I'm working more towards my next goal is financial independence. And that's what I'm working towards now. So, and I also want to learn more about investing because that's something that I'm still, lacking in that area. And I know that I want to put my money to work for me so I can grow it even better and faster. So those are my next two goals: to invest more and find ways to grow my money, and to, work towards financial independence and work optional. I'm new to the whole FIRE movement, but I'm totally on board. I believe in that, financial independence, work optional. That's how I've heard it with the retire early part. So, and that's what I want. So that's what I'm working towards now.
Okay. So, and also you have a new business platform called Extravagantly Broke. And
Hmm.
I think that emergency fund is especially important if you want to pursue that as an entrepreneurial venture, if you're heading towards doing that full time. Because, like I tell people, if they want to be an entrepreneur and they're exiting the traditional workforce, to make sure you bring that boat closer to the dock, make sure you have big savings. And sounds like you're well on your way to that. So that's awesome.
Hmm.
And then you talked about investing. And just before we start talking about Extravagantly Broke, I want to ask if you were investing while you were paying off your debt, like at work.
Yeah, my 401k, I have a 401k at work, and I increased that to still not to the full amount that it should be. I'm at 10%, and I think my job allows 15%. So with the next election date, I do plan on moving that up to the full 15% now that I am 100% debt free. I think it's safe for me to go ahead and move that up to 15%, and I do have a good at least 2 years worth of savings right now. So I think I can go ahead and do that. And yeah, so through my 401k, and I've always had that with my job, but I used to only just do it at the 3%. So now I'm being a little bit more aggressive, and like I said, I bumped it up to 10 with the last time we could elect, but now with the next election, I will be moving that up to 15% because that's a maximum.
So there's a max on how much you can contribute of your paycheck? I've never heard that before.
Well, that's the max that they will match, I
Okay.
believe. Yes, that's their matching max.
It's 15% that they'll match. So if you invest for 15%, what is the match?
The match is 15%.
Oh my God. So you were leaving all that money on the table that whole time?
Well, because like I told you, I had like this anxiety about around money where it's like I felt like I needed to see my money. I needed to see more of it. I knew I needed to be investing. I had to invest some, but I told you I had this scarcity mindset. Did I tell you that in the beginning? Yeah, I had like a scarcity mindset. Yeah, because of the way I grew up, not always having everything that I want. And I guess money was the way I felt like I can get what I want, or at least that security as I got older. At least that was my security blanket. So I like to see it. And when it's being not in my paycheck, I felt like then I didn't have it. But, I'm trying to let some of that go. I guess that's kind of my fear around, not having enough. I'm still working. I'm a work in progress with my finances.
No, good. We all are. We all are. No judgment zone.
So yeah, I had to try to let some of that go and realize, my money could be doing, now that I'm debt free, my money needs to be working harder for me. And that would actually serve me better, if I can invest and get, interest or, more of my employer match or whatever I can do to make it work harder for me versus
I
just
just said that to give you a hard time because my coworkers and stuff know I'm kind of a Nazi about that. Like, I'm just like, what? That's free money you're leaving on the table? Like, why would you
right.
do that? And so,
It doesn't make sense.
yes, but most people are there. And thank you for sharing your story and, humoring me on that. I'll just give you a hard time. But
That's no problem. Give me a hard time. I need it. I need that kick in the pants.
I did not invest while I was paying down my debt. And that's one of my biggest money mistakes. And so I just encourage people to at least be meeting that match in their company's retirement account. And then everybody that I've advised that I work with, because you said you didn't want to take that hit on your take home pay, they didn't even notice that substantial of a difference in their take home pay because it's after
Right.
tax, like you're before tax and after tax. So I challenge everybody, if you're not already
Yes.
at least up to your company match, go ahead and meet that company match. So, okay, we talked about the investing piece. That was the last piece of your debt story I wanted to cover. But now I want to talk about your platform, Extravagantly Broke, and why you decided to pursue this venture in entrepreneurship, not full time yet. And then tell me all about it.
Okay, so Extravagantly Broke, I felt like, because my goal is to empower professional women to crush debt and pursue their passions, because I feel like that's where I lived. I was a professional woman in debt who was not actively pursuing what my passion was. Even though nursing is a great career, it wasn't my initial choice. My initial choice, I have more of like a creative mindset. And my initial choice, I wanted to be an interior decorator. But then I got talked out of that by my mother and a school guidance counselor, the college guidance counselor. Actually, she was like, quit wasting your parents' money, trying to go to school for interior decorating. You're never going to make money out of that. You're going to be eating bread and water. And I'm like, okay. So, and my mother, she kind of like had these unfulfilled dreams of wanting to be a nurse, and she never accomplish that. So she always felt like it would provide me with job security and a good earning potential. And she was right. It really is and I'm a compassionate person, and it's been very rewarding. But like I said, I have more of a creative mind, and I kind of always wanted to do something where I can be a little bit more creative. And so it was not my first choice. It was not and I don't feel that it was my passion, even though I do love helping people. So I wanted to help people from a different aspect. As nurses, we help with the physical and the mental, but I saw people, nurses included, and other professional women like myself who were, just kind of stuck and struggling with their debt. So I felt like, well, that's a way for me to, show what I've learned and express my creativity by, maybe starting this blog and showing people what I did, and knowing that there is another way. You don't have to do what everybody else does. Just because everybody else does it a certain way doesn't mean you have to do it that way. and you don't have to live this lifestyle where you're, showing, putting on a good face on the outside and struggling or sweating, anxious, or can't sleep behind closed doors because you got all these bills weighing on you. So that's what I mean by being extravagantly broke. It's like you're living basically above your means. You're living, paying more than you're earning, and then you really have nothing in the bank. So, and I feel like anybody can be extravagantly broke, whether you make $10 or $50 an hour. If you're making 50 but spending like you're making $75 an hour, then you're still living in, extravagantly broke, because you're still spending more than you earn and you're not saving or planning for the future. It's like you're living too much in your present needs and not really focusing enough on your future and, taking care of your family down the line, or even just yourself as you get older. You can probably only work for so long, before your health gives out or something, or before you have to step back, and then what? Where's that Mercedes going to do for you when you need help, as you get older? So I wanted to be able to give people empowerment to know that you can focus on living a comfortable lifestyle and not so much an extravagant one. I mean, and to me, I feel like I never miss out on anything. I drive a nice car. I have a luxury car. I've been down that path, but now I just drive a nice Nissan SUV, and I love it. It gets me everywhere I need to go. It's comfortable. It's roomy. It's affordable, it's fuel efficient, and now it's 100% paid off. So I love it even more. And so I don't have to stress about bills anymore. So it took a mindset shift for me, for sure. Like I said, I had to realize that I didn't like the way I was living or the stress that I was living with. And so I wanted to be more proactive in my mental health as well as my, comfort level for my finances. I wanted to see my money in the bank instead of, paying it out to whoever,
Right.
people that I owe, whoever I was owing at the time.
So for people who want to access your services, what kind of services do you provide through Extravagantly Broke?
Well, as a matter of fact, I just recently decided to become a money mindset coach.
Yes.
Because it is really all about mindset. And in my blog post, I always dig deeper. I always try to give people that mindset piece because, to hopefully make them think and inspire them to realize that you don't, all the things you think you need, they're just things that you want. I mean, you don't need a $60,000 luxury car. That's what you want. You may just need good transportation. And that's fine to drive any car that you like as long as you're not in debt, as long as you're not struggling to pay for it, as long as you have an emergency fund and, money growing in your savings account or in your 401k or your whatever investment you're making, as long as you have money, set aside for your future, you can drive any car you want. But for me, I felt like I wanted to show people that you don't need to have that in order to be happy. I prefer to spend my money on the things that actually make me happy, like traveling with my family. I love that. I'd rather spend $5,000 on a trip for my family than $60,000 on a luxury car. That's just the way I see it. And so I feel like that other $55,000 can be in my bank account. So that's the way I see it.
I'm going to challenge you to start putting that $55,000 into an investment account so you can actually build wealth instead of just looking at it as a number.
Right. I'm just enjoying the dollar signs, but yes, that is my next goal, Naseema. You heard it here first. My goal is to go and start investing my money so it can grow for me. That's where I'm headed.
And that's great. So as a money mindset coach, you help women transform the way they look at their finances and help them live a debt-free life, correct?
Absolutely. And, absolutely. I want to help them live a debt-free life and then pursue their passion. Do whatever you love. If you enjoy being a nurse on the unit, that's perfect. Do that. But do it knowing that you're debt-free and you're doing it because this is what you want to do, not because you're stuck and you can't move forward and you have to do it. And I think people do work more grudgingly when they feel stuck or trapped. I remember being on the floor with so many nurses. I mean, oh girl, let me tell you. I had the one nurse, she would come to work every day angry, just mad at the world. But yet she would sign up for so much overtime, but come in mad and complaining already before she even got her assignment. And I'm like, why does she even work here if she's so miserable? Because she had bills, but I mean, she had debt, and she was trying to, she was doing what she had to do because of her debt versus doing what she loved to do and be happy. She was always miserable. And, you could feel that tension and negativity coming off of her. And, it kind of made you not want to be around her because she was always mad about it, but kept signing up for overtime. And that's the stress of being in debt. It makes you do what you don't want to do. And so I want to have people be able to do what they love. I want to encourage and empower women to crush that debt and then do the things that make you happy, whatever that might be. As long as you can find joy in it, then you're doing the right thing.
I love that.
So
and
that's
I
my
definitely
goal with my site.
wouldn't want that to be my coworker. I would not want that to be my nurse. And ultimately, I love what you're saying. It's not about once you put yourself in a good financial position, it's now about the things that you get to do and not what you have to do. And so that nurse was doing what she had to do, but she was doing it begrudgingly because she was not in a good place in her life. And I implore employers especially to start investing in financial literacy products, because I really feel like that really changes your workforce. Because when people come to work out of obligation, they're going to show up different than if they come to work with pure passion about what they're doing. And so, yeah, that's another one of my goals, by the way, is to get in these hospitals, get in these even nursing schools to just educate people about the freedoms that getting their finances in order have, and then how that translates into how you're showing up at work. And so, yeah, I think that's super important. So, DeShena, how can people access your resources? Please share with us how the Nurses on Fire community can get in contact with you.
Okay, so one way is through my blog, extravagantlybroke.com. Like I say, I write blog posts. And then I want to say with that, I think I'm not like probably your traditional blog posts on personal finance. It's like I said, I have a creative mindset. I may go way off into some, topic about Alice in Wonderland. I remember in one of my posts, I was talking about making a comparison between Alice in Wonderland and how, the Cheshire Cat was asking her, she's trying to find her direction, which way she wants to go. If you want to go this way, if you want to go, or where should she go? And the Cheshire Cat said, well, where are you trying to go? And she said, I don't know. And he said, well, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there.
Hey.
So you need direction, basically. You need guidance.
Yes.
So I'm not the typical personal finance writer. I try to be a little bit more creative. And believe me, I could be even more so. I tone it down some because I don't want people to go like, oh, Lord, who is this person? And what kind of personal finance blog is this? But I do try to add in my creativity and always dive a little deeper into the mindset to make people think. So they can find me at my extravagantlybroke.com. Yes, I'm on Facebook. I also have Extravagantly Broke Facebook site. I'm on Twitter. I think my Twitter handle is just DeShena Woodard, at DeShena Woodard. And then soon I plan to be offering coaching one-on-one and probably group coaching, because I am trying to be a money mindset coach, and I'm still working on setting that up. And I did recently become a certified life coach as well, because oftentimes money issues don't just stem from money. A lot of times it may have to do with, deeper issues in your life, or it can even affect other areas of your life, like your relationships or how you are at work or how you relate to your family or your kids or other areas of your life. So I'm working on setting up coaching, and I will be offering that soon on the same site, extravagantlybroke.com. So look forward to that. That'll be up and running soon as well.
All right. Good job, DeShena. So if you want to reach out and read her creative stories. Go ahead over to her blog, soon to come financial coaching from Miss DeShena. But thank you so much for sharing your story with me, for sharing your story with the Nurses on Fire podcast. I'm sure they can totally relate because everything is super relatable. And I wish you all the best in all your entrepreneurial journeys. And with that, we're going to close it out. I really love DeShena's story on how she broke the cycle of living check to check, got her mindset right, and is now living extravagantly broke. We can learn a lot from what she had to learn and what she had to go through in order to achieve her financial successes. And these things we can readily apply to our lives.
Lesson number 1.
It was not hard to fall into the traps of lifestyle inflation. With her daughter, she wanted her daughter to be in everything. And you know what? Everybody else is doing it. So it feels like something that you're supposed to do.
I want her in everything. I mean, what parent doesn't? I want her to have the experience of everything. And then I see other parents doing it. They got the kids in gymnastics, piano lessons. Let's see, what else? Oh, swim class. I see all the other people got all their kids in these things. And it's like, well, how are they doing it? I'm a professional woman, but, I don't know what was going on in their finances. But for me, it was causing me stress.
Lesson number 2.
So DeShena decided before she paid off all her debt that it was super important for her to have a huge emergency fund. So if you're a follower of Dave Ramsey or you know about his baby steps, he believes in only having $1,000 in an emergency fund. And actually, this is what I did when I was paying off my debt. I had $1,000 in my emergency fund, and that pretty much covered any emergency that I had. However, if I did have a quote-unquote emergency because I was paying so heavily towards my debt, I could use those funds to cover an emergency. So I really didn't need more than $1,000 in the bank. But personal finance is super personal. And DeShena did not feel comfortable with just that $1,000. And so part of her plan in paying off her debt was that she needed to have a comfortable amount to fall back on. And so she had a heavily cushioned emergency fund. I always tell people personal finance is personal. And, not having any savings was causing you to have that stress too. And so you had to do what worked for you. And that's why I'm not a big fan of cookie cutter approaches. And I give Dave Ramsey a whole bunch of props because without Dave Ramsey, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. But I also had to learn that, we have to approach personal finance from a different lens because, different things work for different people and people need different things. I don't need a big emergency fund because I've never had an emergency that was something that, I couldn't cover out of my cash flow or cover with a couple $1,000s in the bank account. But so that doesn't do anything for me, but I'm not going to tell you when I know that causes you a lot of anxiety not to have that money in the bank.
Lesson number 3.
Once you get intentional about one area of your life, that intention tends to transfer into other areas. Just like once you get intentional about maybe healthy eating, then it transfers into a fitness journey. And once you get serious about getting your health together, it transfers into your finances. We are a holistic being. And once we really get in touch with the things that we need to do to enhance one part of our lives, it tends to enhance us as a whole.
Oftentimes, money issues don't just stem from money. A lot of times it may have to do with, deeper issues in your life, or it can even affect other areas of your life, like your relationships or how you are at work or how you relate to your family or your kids or other areas of your life.
Thank you. So just wanted to make a little correction. When DeShena said that her employer matched up to 15%, she later corrected that and let me know that her employer matched up to 4.5%. So if you guys were thinking that she was leaving the 15% match on the table, it wasn't that bad. But she is doing better as she's striving to retire early. Hey guys, I'm super excited to announce that I'll be speaking at the first annual Financial Freedom Summit, and I want to meet you there. It's going down May 1st through 3rd, 2020 in St. Louis. So if you're ready to kick your finances in gear, the mission of the summit is simple: to help you reach the next level in your financial journey, no matter where you are. Whether you're thousands in debt, building your first budget, saving 6 months of expenses, or close to financial independence, there's something for you at this event. What's even better is that there'll be 50 plus other financial experts for you to learn from, including my finance besties, Jamila from Journey to Launch and Kirsten and Julian from Rich and Regular. There'll be experts covering nearly every personal finance topic. This is your chance to connect with thousands of other people who have the same interests, goals, and philosophies as you. Not just that, but I'd love to meet you as well. So tickets are going fast, meaning that prices are going to increase soon. I want to make sure you get the biggest bang for your buck. Better yet, you can use a special discount code to get an even lower price. So use FREEDOM at checkout for 20% off your ticket. That's FREEDOM at checkout. Seriously, y'all, I think this event is going to be life-changing for so many people. I'm super honored to be part of it. So for more information on the first annual Financial Freedom Summit, click the link in the show notes, and don't forget to use the code FREEDOM at checkout. You've been listening to Nurses on Fire. If you want to learn more about me or my guests, check out our show notes page. If you found value, please support our show by supporting our sponsors and affiliate, also listed in the show notes. If you like what you're hearing, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or whatever podcast app you're using to stream this show. You guys, tell all the nurses in your life to subscribe. And if you know a nurse with a compelling money story and would like me to feature them, shoot me an email at Naseema@financiallyintentional.com. All right, y'all. Much love and keep them fires blazing.
Thank you for listening to my mommy's podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye. Bye.